Hello, hi everyone. So I'm back today with something interesting and fun, a lot of fun. I recently had to change my phone case. Hello. So I had to change this phone case recently because it had gotten old, and when I had to replace it, the one I had before this was black, entirely black. And when I had to pick one, I came across a transparent phone case, and I ordered a transparent one. Now, once that came along, I was thinking of how plain it looked, with just the serial number and details of the phone at the back. And so that's when this idea occurred to me about beautifying the space behind the phone. And of course I went online and I found so many videos on painting the actual case in acrylic paints, as well as if you were to, let's say, use a transparent case like this, how to paint a piece of paper and put it inside this transparent case so that you get it's seen through the transparent case. So this big comes to the next problem with this issue, with this kind of a case, is also that over time transparent cases tend to become yellowish, and it may lose its the coloring, and therefore the coloring of the color used beneath it is also going to get affected. So that led me to looking up for videos on how to keep phone cases clean, and there are so many videos. So when this case eventually fades after a lot of use, I will want to clean it up using a whole lot of kitchen cleaning stuff, and hopefully retain the transparency of this case. But until then, I can enjoy this case for what it is, and the artwork beneath it will always be very uplifting. So I thought, okay, this begs to become alive, a live on Instagram, so I can show you all what you can do. You can do anything. To be very honest, I do roses when I have no ideas, and so I did roses. There is no reason why you can't do something else. It could be a landscape, it could be boho art, it could be line art, it could be anything. Today we're going to do this one more time, but I'm going to show you how to cut out the shape of a case, the paper that goes inside the case, and I'm also going to show you how to make these kind of roses, or for that matter any floral, and still put a background on this. You notice that I have a blue background, right? So I wanted some color. I didn't want the white of the paper to show, and that's why I did this. So let's just get started, and if you have time, we may do more than one. Let's see. So first off, I'm going to remove the case, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is how it looks, and this is how the paper under it that I have painted looks. Okay. This is just a plain drawing paper, because when I am trying to experiment with something, I do not usually use grade paper. I use what is lying around, which is often my drawing book, my sketchbook, and I just cut out what I want if it works, because a lot of the art I play around with does not work. So I do not want to waste paper. So this is plain drawing paper, but what I've got today is watercolor paper. So I'm going to try this out in watercolor paper as well today and see whether that makes any difference. Honestly, I don't think it will, because the watercolor paper, even if it's thicker, will still sit inside the case. Okay. All right. Now for some some phone cases, this section where the camera is left entirely open, like an entire square or rectangle will be left open, which makes the whole drawing process easier, because we have to cut out this portion from your paper here. It should not obstruct your camera, right? But in my case, unfortunately, this is not open. I have quite a bit of plastic over here. So, and at the same time, if you can see, it is a slightly elevated. So I can't have my paper coming into this section at all. So I had initially thought I'd just cut out the circles for the camera and that's it. But I can't do that either, because over here there's a bend and the paper is going to get folded, and then it's going to be just messy, because my camera sticks out. You may have a phone that doesn't stick out, doesn't have a camera sticking out, and so those are considerations you have to keep in mind when you are cutting your own piece of paper. Okay, so we take a piece of paper. I'm taking this watercolor paper. I'll show you. It's from my Brustro 25% cotton 200 GSM A5 size sheets. I have these lying around for all sorts of watercolor experiments. So I took one sheet from here, and A5, and the size of my phone means you'll see. Let me use my phone. My phone doesn't fit this way widthwise, but lengthwise it will fit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to keep my phone upside down or downside up, whichever works. It really doesn't matter. And I will place it right at the edge on both sides. Now the reason I'm doing this, to be very honest, is because I do not want to waste the sheet. If I do this nice and clear at the end, I will get another piece to use for another phone cover. So I'm just being very judicious with my use of paper. So I'm going to keep this right at the corner. You see, I'm aligning it to this corner here on this side and aligning it to this corner. Okay, so that is visually something you can do visually. You don't need much help with this. Okay, and after that, take your pencil and draw out the outline of your phone. Your phone will have curves in most cases, and so you have to draw those curves. All right, once this is done, what I do is I take it off and I straight away cut this out. I don't like to experiment with anything like cutting out the next piece while this is still attached. So I straight away take a scissor and go along the edge of this. At this point, we have not yet decided which side you are going to paint on, but we will have to do that soon, the moment we cut out our camera space. So just a plain scissor. Okay, go around the curves, and now I don't need to cut anything because this side is taken care of. All I need to worry about is this corner. Okay, that's it. You've got your shape, your basic shape. The next thing is to take your case, put it in. Now it should fit ideally, right? Because we've cut it to the measurement of the phone, so it's sitting right now quite well. For me, because this groove over here, okay, the groove over here is very evident. All I'm doing is pressing this down a bit. The moment I press down, I get a slight shape on the paper. I'm doing it for the first time on watercolor paper, but if you did it on drawing paper, just thinner, this shape actually does not crinkle the rest of the paper. It looks very, very neat. Now I don't know if you can see it. I'll hold it at an angle. Can you see the slight marking that has come? Yeah. So what we are going to do now is we are going to take a knife, X-Acto knife. I don't know if you know of this, or a cutter, paper cutter. I have something called an X-Acto knife, and an X-Acto knife is excellent for cutting out an in-between section on your paper. Okay, these are very sharp and the blades can be changed and things like that. They're really, really convenient for cutting without a scissor. So let me keep this X-Acto knife here. Because I have this marking, which you can see, I'm going to go over that line. But for the X-Acto knife, I cannot cut on this table. It will leave a mark. So I'm going to get my cutting pad. This is a self-healing mat, which is very, very handy to have when you're sort of experimenter like me, who loves to do crafty things. I love this mat because whatever you cut on this mat is does not damage anything else around it. Alright, so you can Now I know this can't be seen, so what I'll do is, just so it becomes easier for those who are watching, oops, I will just draw the outline, okay? The way I see the paper bent. So there's a line here, and the other line is here. Okay. Next, my line comes here, and there is one more groove. I'm just trying to see the groove. Let me put it back in. Put it back in. Press it down a bit more. Now I have it. There you go. The line is here. Curve is here. I'm holding it at an angle so I get the curve at the corners well. Don't be very finicky about this. A little bit of cutting that doesn't come right is perfectly alright. If you see the one that I've done over here, I did it the first time and I wasn't particular about how well I cut it. So it moves about a bit unevenly, and it has a little bit of the edge that's not neatly done. But in spite of that, it didn't really interfere with the end result. So go easy on yourself if a little bit goes off. As long as it sits nicely inside, you are good to go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take my X-Acto knife and cut out the shape. Okay, yeah, I'm doing it freehand because I have the shape already drawn. Hold your paper down and press it. Press the X-Acto knife in and move it like a pencil. Be careful doing this because the X-Acto knife is very sharp. But wherever you guide it, it usually goes well. Corners can be challenging, so go slow, go easy. Yeah, I definitely like a pencil drawing because it just makes it manageable. I have seen phone cases being cut in such a way that the entire section over here has had to be cut. I'm not sure if it's the iPhone or some other brand, model or brand of phones, but keep that in mind that from phone to phone, this shape is going to be different. So you have to do it for the phone and for the case that you have you are using. Okay, all right, now that that's done, don't need this piece, throw that, keep that out. Don't throw it. Don't throw paper ever. Keep it. It's always good for color testing or whatever else. Okay, now that this is done, I'm going to put it in again. Check whether it sits. It seems to be sitting right at the corners. Everything's fine. Flip it over. Check. Looks good. Okay, now comes a step where you have to mark a cross on the side you are not going to paint, because the moment you take this out, you're going to get confused again. You're not sure which side you're going to paint, and you do not want to paint on the wrong side. This is the inside because the camera comes here, and so your painting has to be on the other side. So please mark a cross and keep that marked so that you never make that mistake. Okay, cutting pad goes in. Sorry, self-healing mat goes in. Now it's what you want to do. Have fun. So I'm going to do roses, or we could do something else. Do you have a preference? If you don't, I'm going to just do roses, because roses are just so wonderful, easy and pretty. For this, I'm going to take my actually I have a trusty brush for my I love to use these for my florals. These are my silver black velvet. I love using these. So I have some water. I want to test a few colors. I know definitely this color works because I've put a red with a blue background. But what if I have a rose that is, you can consider having a yellow background. So if I put a yellow background, what kind of a rose would go with yellow? I would think um, yellow and pink, yellow and purple may be a good combination. Yellow and purple. You know, like the Cadbury colors, is that? Yeah, that may go. So I'm going to mix over here some paint. Can you see the paint? Okay. This is what blue is this? Ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, whatever is best. I am mixing some crimson into that. And I think I've got a decent purple. So now let me just try experiment how painting roses is very simple. You just have to start with these C's. C's. All teachers will tell you, yeah, you have to make roses with C's. Press your brush down gently in the beginning and make these little C's that overlap. In the beginning, you're making them small because they are the inner petals. As you go outward, your paint has to get lighter. So if that means that you have to wipe off some paint and then proceed, or dip it a little bit in water so that it becomes lighter, because in watercolor lightening is by adding water, not by there you go, see, managed to get it lighter. So just dip it in a little bit of water and it will lighten your pigment. So this is how we are going to get bigger and bigger with our petals. Press down, make a C, press down, make a C. So with a pointed brush, you will get these edges that are nice and sharp, or at least thin. And this midsection which you press down is going to be thick. Right? The same brush gives you all this. Now that we've taken purple, let's try one more color. I want to try blue. I know blue roses aren't popular, but what other options do we have? It has to be a darkish color. So I'm just thinking perhaps orange. Orange is a little light. But you know what? I love this combination of orange and blue, orange and black. Both make for excellent. So I'm going to try, if not a rose, let's try something else, another flower. So I'm going to try maybe orange and blue. Yeah. So let's take blue. I'll take blue here. And I'm going to do a simple 5-petaled flower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at my strokes. Very, very loose. I'm not bothered about a few things jumping out, the edges not being perfect, the tip not being perfect. I'm just leaving it at that. Okay. To this, you could add leaves. So I'm going to add green leaves. Sap green in the case of the rose. But you don't have to have green leaves. You can have different colors. This is an illustration. You can have whatever color you like. So I'm going with green here. Okay, a leaf sticking out here. Maybe one sticking out here. And one half out here. This is where you actually have a lot of liberty. You have to do this many times to understand what you like, how you like your rose to be displayed. Watch people watercolor roses, examples of watercolor roses and their general composition. Yeah, so green and purple is definitely good. I like that. Now with this blue flower, let's do something absolutely different. What shall we do? Blue, and we said orange, but orange is what I want to put in the background. What would go? Maybe red. Seems a bit weird, no? There's no harm in just checking what works and what doesn't. So now my petals are also not very different from the, leaves are not very different from the petals. That's fine. That's what I'd like to have. If you feel you want to make thinner petals like this, go ahead and do that. Yeah. Okay, just to get a bearing, this is fine. Now I want to put in the, I'm not attaining perfection with any of my flowers. I'm just doing this to get my color combinations in place. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with Gamboge. Gamboge is a lovely color. And Gamboge will fill my background. So I'm just going to paint around the rose. See what the way I paint? And this is a nice thing I discovered actually, where we put a background without the background really touching all the flower. In fact, it is not touching the flower. See how I put in the background there? It's not touching the flower at all. It's got this thin white space, and everywhere else you're filling in the background color. So eventually that gives you the feel of a sticker, as if this flower here is a sticker placed on a yellow background. So I like this, right? This is nice. I think yellow and purple are definitely working. So this is good. What I'm thinking for this one is maybe orange that I was talking about earlier. Orange. Or we could go with a little gamboge as well. You know, gamboge and orange to make it light. And let's see how that looks. So I'm going to fill in the space around. Very different from what we've seen before. I mean, not the kind of colors that usually make up our idea of florals, but so what? It looks pretty. Yeah, I think it works. Yeah, this is pretty too. So keep these kind of things painted on rough sheets lying around. Paint different combinations of backgrounds, florals, leaves, and keep them, because you never know when you will probably come back to the same question of what color combination should I use. And when you do, you won't have to redo this exercise because you have already done it once. You've already put a few colors together and you know what works and what doesn't work. So I'm just putting this in and I'm quite happy with that. That looks nice too. But maybe for today I'm going to stick to this, okay, because I like the purple and the yellow, and let's just do that first. Okay, we can probably do this later, or I don't know, anybody online who wants to chime in, wants me to try this instead of that, that's also not sure. Let me see. You know what, let's go with the first plan of making roses. Okay, so here's my paper. Here's the side that I do not want to paint on. 2. Oh, 2, is it? All right, 2. I'm just thinking for 2, what kind of center? All right, let's go with 2. 1, wonderful. Just what I need. You know what? Let's do one of these. I'll do number 1 first, and if we can, we'll do a number 2 afterwards. Okay? If I mean, I'll need some drying time in between, so let's do both. So here I am with my ultramarine blue and crimson, and I'm going to put in placement. I'm going to place one flower here. Okay, again C's. Remember, we are making flowers, roses with C shape strokes. After I get to this size, instead of washing off my brush, what I like to do is make another rose somewhere else where the color is still deep. So you get what I am trying to do? Not waste my paint. But you don't have to do it that way. You can wash off and finish your entire rose in one go. Yeah. Okay, so I've got it to this big. I'll want to place one more rose on this side. So you'll probably be wondering what's going to happen now. It's going out of the area of your paper. That is true. It is going to go out of your margin, or not border. Sorry, not margin, border. And that's fine. It's going to be partially in the page. That's fine. Okay. Half and half. Oh, half and half is going to look funny. You know what? This is probably not going to take too long. So let's just try and do both. Okay. Half and half sounds a bit scary to me. Even though I don't mind funny stuff, I can't go that far. Okay. So I've got this in. Now I go back, I dilute the paint a bit, and I put in my outer petals. Mildly touching the paint. See what's happening here? I should warn you that your table will get messy. So if you don't want that to happen, please make sure you put a sheet of paper underneath. So now this is where I never seem to have rough paper lying around. Okay, I have some brown paper lying around. Now my brown paper is going to get messy, and that's fine. Hi Ritu, nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Okay, very loose roses. Don't be under too much of pressure when you're making these kind of roses about the shape, or it's not looking very much like a rose. The petal overlapped a little too much. Don't get into too much of that. If you feel it starts to look like a rose, that works. That's it. Don't worry more than that. Okay, here's one. Here's another. I used to get very stressed out with roses initially. Afterwards, I realized, you know what? It's fine. Whatever it is, it does look like a rose to me, and that's what matters. Okay, there's my partial rose, and here I need to put in a few more petals. Small one here. I'm just trying to keep them more or less consistent in size, because then they space out nicely. Yeah. Okay. This done. I usually leave my roses to dry. I do not work them while they're still wet. Yes, absolutely. You can do this in pencil colors. In fact, I wanted to do one in poster colors. Poster colors are amazing on black paper. So if you decide to take a black sheet and do all this in poster color, I can't even imagine how much that will really pop out and look so lovely. I will just experiment, I am going to experiment for sure. Black paper. I couldn't find any lying around, but I will definitely experiment very soon. There you go. Now this is very concentrated green. I did not intend for it to be so concentrated. This is sap green for those who might be still checking out colors that I'm using. I like to put the first set of leaves rather big. I like to place the big leaves first. So you'll find me doing this, adding the first set of leaves quite large and very often sticking out from under the flower, meaning the entire leaf is not out, it is partially hidden. I like doing that first. After I place those big leaves, it becomes easy for me to add the other leaves that jump out from the sides. So here I'm trying to pick up the paint and use it for, let's say, a smaller leaf jumping out at the side. Because roses have leaves that are slightly serrated kind of edges, try to put that in some way when you're painting your leaf. Okay, now I start putting all the little leaves. So on this side I will want to put one here. On this side I still think a partial leaf would be good, big leaf, followed by a stem and small leaf. You can make pages and pages of this, huh? Roses, I mean. At least I can. I can just go on and on painting for no apparent reason, and then it becomes a nice pattern that I can just use anywhere. You can cut it up, make cards out of it, do what you want. So your leaves are also going to go out of the, now here let me do a big one, out of the this thing border of your paper, and that is expected. Your rose has gone out, so why not the leaves? Over here, how many leaves you want to add is entirely up to you. Look at it from time to time, stop and look. Okay, where else can I put and what else can I do? Now you'll notice that I have put all my leaves in, coming radiating out of the rose, right? You have to also remember that this has to be something that looks like a design taken out of a larger piece of design. So which means there would have been a rose on this side or on that side. So that will have a leaf coming somewhere here, right? This is imaginary. You are assuming such a thing is happening. So by doing this, it makes the pattern look very much like a part of a larger design, right? So don't think that all the white space needs to be only petals coming, only leaves coming out of your current existing flowers. It can come out from other parts as well. So I will have what looks like a partial leaf here, and then maybe, in fact, I could have a little bit of purple here, right? Because ideally there would be a rose here. So let me go back to the purple I had and make a few lines, curves, indicating what would have been. Or if your paper is below is not something you want to save, draw it actually as you see it, right? Makes it easy. So what would you have done? You would have put a few petals here, right? You would make your rose a bit larger. Yeah, and that's it. Now take away the sheet and your design continues here, which means I would probably put a leaf over here, right? There would be a leaf here, so I have a little bit of green. Okay, and maybe a leaf sticking out from this side. Yeah, okay, so I think now I have filled up most of the space around the flower. Maybe small one here, small one here. You'll notice that I put these little strokes at the side of the petal leaves, like this. I won't call them fillers, but they are like pieces of stem sticking out, not leaves, just stem. Okay, sufficiently filled. Now I'm not going to overdo it. I need that white space around because we have a background to put in, right? So while this is drying and before we put a background, let's go on to another sheet of paper and do the other flower that we wanted to do. So here's another sheet I already cut. Okay, and I'm going to use the side. I've marked it with an X, and so I'm going to turn this around and use the side that's accurate. A little bit of a stain here. I'll keep my brown paper underneath so that it does not dirty my desk. My desk. What is it below my paper? Okay, so we'll do this flower. Okay, again a nice color combination. I'm just thinking maybe I could do something better with the leaf. I'm not certain this is a great leaf. The other option is, okay, let's use this combination and do something different. What brush am I using? I'm using my roses almost always. For my roses I use the Um, this is called the Silver Black Velvet Round Brush, and they come in several sizes. This is a size 12, but I also have a size I think 6. I can't find it right now, but I love these brushes because of the point. Okay, they give me such a fine line, which I love to use for these kind of little flecks I need on in floral illustration. At the same time, the brush is quite thick, and it is can hold a lot of pigment and water. So when I press down, I get a nice thick stroke. See, like this petal here. So I found that when I do loose floral specifically, I enjoy using this brush. It's just something that you tend to do. Like when you write, you like certain ball pens over other pens, that kind of stuff. Where do we get it? It's available at a few stores. I'm not sure. See, I got this about 3 years back, so I'm not sure exactly where it was. But a few recommended online stores are HTC Online, KDS Art Store, HTC, KDS, then what is the other one? HTC Online, by the way, is Hindustan Trading Company, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're a Chennai based thing. Himalaya Fine Art also may have this. Then there's one more. Okay, you know what? I'll put a few links. Okay, I'll put a few links at the bottom of this post, and you can check it out. It should be available in one of these places. Yeah, if not more than one. Okay. Now getting on to, yeah, so I could make this a loose floral. The other option is I could make it look a little better, not be loose, so loose, maybe make it a little more refined. How about that? But the same color combination. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is, let's go with cerulean. Does cerulean look good? Yeah, cerulean looks good, but I think maybe cobalt. I'm just testing. Maybe cobalt's better. I'll make it a small puddle here, cobalt blue. Okay, and I'm going to change the flower. Okay, I'm not very happy with the shape of the flower and the petals. So let me do again. I want to stay loose, so I'm going to just make a simple five petal round flower like this. Okay. Oops, forgot the center. You know what? Cover the center. Let's not have the centers. But it's still not. Now these are turning out to be slightly smaller flowers than I made before. That's fine. This is watercolor paper. That's what I like. It does its own thing in terms of spreading water and the light and the dark. See, you can pick up paint. You can do a lot of stuff with watercolor paper. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to imagine a flower here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes out. Then I'm going to put one here. So these kind of things that I do, I like making art that is as serious as, I mean, there's really intense, fine art, and there's also this kind of loose art. They both bring their own type of joy making both types, a loose style and a very defined style. And so I can't call myself someone who does only one particular type. No, I enjoy doing both. It gives me different type of joy each one. Okay, so here's one flower that's going to go out. Yeah, I'm going to have flower here. If you can't imagine it, draw it entirely so that it doesn't hamper your judgment of how much needs to be blue. Yeah, and maybe one here which would have been like this, like this, like this. So that means this whole section is blue. Yeah, do that if that helps. One little bit standing out here. Okay, yeah, I think that's good enough. I'm gonna just wipe this off. Next is the leaf. You're welcome, Sapna. Now the leaf, I can do a lot of fun stuff with the leaf. You know what I'm thinking? Maybe let's not do a background. We're doing a background for this one. Let's not do a background for this. Let's just have uh, red leaves. And I'm going to take a finer brush and do red leaves. It'll look like an American font. Colors of the American flag. But so what? This is scarlet. It's a different style, right? My next experiment is going to be landscape. I'm going to make a landscape and see how that looks. So let's start putting these little quirky leaves. Okay, I can put one more here. I tend to get a bit hurried on lives. I don't know, I mean, it's maybe the time limit that causes me to speed up, knowing that this has to end and I want to finish something. But this is not how I normally paint. So I wouldn't advise anyone to rush with their painting the way I'm rushing right now. Do it at leisure. There are more chances of things going amiss when you rush, and in the end you may not enjoy the experience just because you rushed it. So basically what I'm saying is, don't do what I do. Don't do what I'm doing. Enjoy it. Now you may have stems coming out from imaginary flowers, which I want to show here. So there is obviously some flower behind, and I want the leaves jutting in from here. So for example, this is an imaginary leaf attached to a flower that we can't see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to put an outline to this. Outline, no, background to this, because it's getting too complex. What I will do though is I'll add a few more filler elements so that we don't have that much of white space. It's a lot of white space right now. You'll notice my leaves becoming so thin has changed the amount of white space here. So that's a change, that is the factor that affects your decision to put a background later or not put it or not put it. Okay. This is a great exercise with a podcaster. If you have a podcast you enjoy, put on your podcast and spend an entire evening doing just this. Especially these rainy days. If you let me sit, I will forget to get up to eat, to drink, to do anything. Because I can go on. I can just go on. But I have kids, so that doesn't happen. I can never go on unless I'm doing it in the night. So, but I'm sure once they're bigger, I'll get that sort of time. Okay, should be enough. Looking more or less okay. One place. Okay, I'm going to stop. Now, getting back to this. And my big brush, because I don't want to waste too much of time. Yellow color. I'm going to go with Gamboge. You don't need to make it too watery because you have to control where it goes. So like we did in the little patch test that we did, I will go with the brush around all the leaves and petals I have painted, leaving a little bit of a white space, little bit. Okay. And the end result is actually quite pretty. It's prettier than you think. You would think, oh no, the white space is going to ruin everything. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. A little bit of white showing around the flower and the petals actually makes it look like a sticker, like as if you put all these floral rose stickers on top of a yellow paper. That's what it's going to look like. All right, there you go. Don't be too particular. If you have a brush with a good point like this, it's not difficult at all. See, filling up. Whoa, almost dropped that water. That was a near miss. My jar almost tumbled on the table. Okay, there you go. And it's better to do this after everything has dried, to avoid a bleed of the petal or the leaf will not bleed now that it's dry. But if you're in a hurry, you can. If you appreciate bleeds, you can go ahead. But I did not want anything bleeding, and that's why I said let me let it dry. Now, not here. A bleed is nice when you have a rose and the color of the rose bleeds into the petal or the petal bleeds into the rose. I don't mind that, but not into the background. I don't quite enjoy that. So I'm not going to let it bleed there. Okay, we're reaching the end of this. I just turned it around so I don't have to stretch too much to paint. Okay, there, background done. No tension. Loose style is absolutely no tension. There you go. Now, what's the key difference between this and this? The difference is, oh, I should show you this and this when I say this and this, is that the detail that I love to put on my flowers is not yet there. I have to put darker shades, and the darker shades are going to make it pop. So, keeping this aside, I will now go in with my darker shades. For this, I will create a little more purple with my cobalt blue and crimson. And at this point, I have less water, more pigment. Okay, and that will help me put a really dark center. I'm going back in and putting these dark centers, but only a few in the center will I color this deep. A few petals. Now this is already dark, so then dry off a little bit of that heavy pigment and use it on the petals that you've already painted. You're going to get basically a darker shade sitting on the lighter first round of light paint. See? And that adds depth, the kind of depth we are looking for in that rose. But it has to be a C curve, and it has to sit on the inner part of whatever C curve you see shaped petals you have already put. Okay, but the center is the important part. The darkest of your shade has to be here in the center. Center of the rose has to be nice and dark. Okay, that done, I will go now with a green. I'm going to put sap green and a little bit of cobalt blue into that sap green to get me this dark shade of green, which I will use to put a center vein on my big petals and some of the side veins. So here's a central vein and just a little bit of a line to indicate some of the veins on the side. Okay, a center, side lines, a few of them. Be very judicious with how much of dark paint you use after you have put light paint, because if all of your light paint area is covered with dark, it won't bring out as much goodness. Okay, so be very reserved with how much of dark color you add. It is just there to suggest some shadow. It is not meant to overpower. See? But the little you put will make a world of a difference to your picture. See? Flat colors versus putting a little bit of dark, and look at the difference to your petal, to your leaf. Why am I calling the I do this all the time. I call the petal a leaf a petal. If you feel like adding a few more lines like this sticking out with your dark shade, go ahead and do that. But watch for that background and make sure that it is dry. Light strokes. I'm not going to make this. Now look around and check where you've left out anything. Whether you want to add a few more little strokes here and there. I'm done. I don't need any more here. That's it. I'm going to just leave this to dry. While that is drying, let's go back to this. Colors of the American flag have absolutely dried, I think. Alright, now I can do all sorts of centers. I can do centers that have lines, or I can do this is a very interesting thing. You can put a circle and have lines coming in like this. Slightly curvy lines, thin lines. Use a thin brush for this. It just adds some sort of I won't say texture. I don't know if it's texture or just pattern, like some sort of a pattern. For every petal, just add in a few such Here I'm going to assume this was the center, and here are the lines. This is looking so 4th of July, and we don't, I mean, I'm not really, that was not the intention. So I'm going to break out of the 4th of July appearance by adding a filler color. I'm missing something here. Awesome. Thanks for coming and joining, Sapna. Nice to have you around. If any of you try something like this or your own mobile case, please do share. You can tag me on Instagram. You can send it to me directly via DM, whatever works. I mean, it'll be nice to see what, and take this idea forward. You don't have to repeat what I have done. Take it forward. Change the color. Change the. If you don't want to do something else, you want to stick to florals, then change the color. Try something different. Try a different type of floral. Um, uh, if not florals, think of other options. Now, like I said, landscape. I had thought of maybe trying a second one here today, which was a landscape, but I didn't have a landscape in mind, and the color combination decided. Others I would have done it, but I will do it at some point, and then I'll share it on Instagram. The best part, like a tape peel, is actually putting this cover in to your phone and enjoying the look. So this is something you could do for somebody, like a gift. It's a great gifting option. Someone who enjoys colorful mobile covers or enjoys a certain type of art which they will appreciate on a phone cover. This is definitely what you can do. Okay, so last part is the filler that I was talking about. I want to change this from a blue and red scenario. So I'm going to put in orange, or shall I put gamboge? Maybe gamboge. And put circles, filler circles. In the white space you have, put circles of varying sizes. So some can be small, some can be big. Use your fine brush for this. Alright, no longer the national flag. Just now a very bright pattern, nothing more. Yeah, this is not really me. So this is bound to happen. You may try something out and then not like it. It like I said, it happens to me quite often. I don't like it. I may have done it neatly, but it's the color combination that went wrong, or the shape of whatever I was painting that did not work for me. Whatever it is, something sometimes doesn't sit right. And it's only once you do it that you know what doesn't work. You won't know otherwise. So don't stop doing. Just keep doing. Okay, almost done. Done. So this is one case which I'm going to let dry, and now we get to the part that's the fun part of this session is putting it in. So I'm going to let this dry and bring in this that I painted, And where's my case? Oh, here it is. Okay, I can see certain portions are still not dry. Oh, that's not nice. Just give me a moment. Okay, and there you go. Had I not noticed this, I would have been putting my lovely watercolor on top of wet case. Some of that water had spilled here. Okay, so here's the side that we marked. Okay, and where's my phone? There's my phone. Goes in. Hi Aditi.